Hey there gamers, welcome back to the Board Game Co channel, and today we have a preview of Towers of Sifnos. Hey there gamers, it's Professor Meg here, and welcome back to the Board Game Co channel. Today we have a preview of Towers of Sifnos by Garfield Games. Now this is a current crowdfunding campaign, so you can check out the link down below for everything that they have planned. This is a sponsored video, and this is a prototype copy in front of me, so all rules, components, things like that are subject to change. Now with that being said, there are two things for me to let you know. One is going to be that Towers of Sifnos is not the only game in this campaign. So if you check out the link down below, you'll also be able to see The Great Sea, and if you'd like to learn even more about it, there will be videos on the Board Game Co channel about that game as well. And if you'd like to see exactly how this game plays, there will be a gameplay on the channel between Alex and myself. Because Towers of Sifnos is going to be a competitive game for 2 to 4 players where you are developing out in the island of Sifnos. So you are trying to vie for control so that you are able to enhance your trading goods with different ships. Now all of this is going to translate into points for you at the end of the game, but the heart of the game is that players are working with lead, silver, and gold and trying to increase what they have for those different things. Now, the board in front of you is currently set up for a 4-player game, so there are a few things that are going to change depending on the number of players, but this is going to be your general playboard with the island of Sifnos, where players are going to be developing here. And as you can see, there are ships that are also circling around it that players are going to interact with. And here I have 1 player board, so this is the player board for the purple player, but there are also player boards, obviously, for each of the different players here. So you're going to have your own personal player board, and at the beginning of the game, you're going to start off with some things on the board, as well as some things here. So the first player would only start off with 3 cards, but other players are going to start off with perhaps some dice in this area, or some men, depending on where they are in turn order. So that's how you are going to start off the game, but with that, I am going to start walking you through what the map is and how you're going to be interacting with it before I get into the nuance of the different actions that you are able to do. Because here in Sifnos, you're going to be placing your dice into these specific areas which match the value there. Now, you are also going to be able to build forts into those different areas, and when you do so, you're then able to place any die value into that area, and if another player were to place into your fort, they would have to pay you to be able to do so. So we'll get into all of those details in a moment, but the other thing that players are going to be doing is placing out these different towers, and those are going to give you certain benefits. If you have 4 towers surrounding a particular region, you're going to be able to place out a beacon, but I'm going to walk you through the entire player board to show you how that's going to be happening. But the heart of what is going to be going on in the game is that when 3 dice are placed within a particular province, which is going to be every region in that province has a die, during the end of the turn of the player that did that, you're then going to resolve that area. So when you resolve it, you'll have a combat to see who has the highest value there, and then they're going to gain the benefits of the ships that are currently at that area. But every time that that happens, the ships are then going to move, and you will draw a new one from the bag here. So where there is only currently 1 ship out per province, you are going to be placing out more and more ships as play goes on, so you're going to be increasing those benefits when you are winning in those different areas. Now, at the end of the game, players are going to add up the points that they were able to gain, not only from their different investments for lead, gold, and silver, which are going to be the 3 resources that you are working with throughout the game, but you're also going to get some additional points for things that you unlock, such as these spots here for placing out your forts and your beacons. You're also able to gain some additional endgame scoring when you reach a certain area, and players are going to get endgame points for things that they have left out as well, such as the cards in their hand as well as their men that are placed out onto the map. Now, just to walk you through what is left on the board, this is going to be the main deck that players are drawing from, so over here is just going to be where you are drawing cards, which I will walk you through in a little bit. But this area up here is going to be cards that players are able to take once they hit a certain threshold for gold. So here you can see that for gold, this is a 3, meaning that when a player reaches 3, they're going to be able to take one of those and immediately play it into their play area without having to pay the cost, and they'll also have to choose from what is available if you are not the first player to do so. Now, these different minerals that are placed out along the map are all randomized as well. So as you can see, this is a a token that was placed here, meaning that every game is going to change depending on where those are placed out. And as you can see, there's a lot of variability with what cards may be there. And this one for the silver is when players reach that particular area, that's when you will gain this tile, which is going to give you not only an immediate benefit, but some endgame scoring as well. Now, down here, this is going to be for when the combats happen, that whichever player is highest on this particular mineral is going to be able to move one troop. So that's going to be a benefit that is happening when there are the 3 dice in one province and a battle is initiated. But this is just going to show you the rewards for when those battles are done as well. And then finally, within the bag, there's going to be 1 orange neutral ship. And when that one is drawn, it will be placed up in that area. And as you can see, the first one is going to be that for your amount in gold, for every 2 that you have, you will draw a card. Then for the lead, it would be for every 3 you have, you would draw a card. And then finally for endgame scoring, whoever has the most would gain 4 victory points, and whoever has the second most would gain 2 victory points. Now, that being said, players are going to be adding in their ships as well once they hit a certain area. So in a 4-player game, it's going to be 7, but there is 1 orange ship currently in the bag, and then as players start escalating on their treks, they're going to be adding in their own ships as well. However, the end game is going to trigger either when the 3rd orange ship is placed, regardless of how many players there are. So in a 4-player game, there may be 5 ships in this bag before all those are placed. But the end game will either be with that or when all ships are placed. So you can see that this should not have been there, but you can see that there is a way for the game to end if all of these ships are placed and you have a lot of combat before players are able to reach this threshold and add their ships into the bag. So now with that, let's take a look at the player board over here, because that's going to walk you through the different actions that you are able to do. So you are going to be going in order in a sense, so I will show you what that means, but the first action you're able to do on your turn is prepare, and you must start with prepare if you are going to do it. So preparing is how you are going to be playing cards from your hand, and you're also able to discard a card to adjust one of your dice. Now, we currently don't have any because of how we started off the game, but being the first player, but that's okay for us. So we do have these cards here available, and as you can see, they cost 2, 3, and 4 respectively, and they're all lead at the top. So other cards are going to have either the lead, the silver, or the gold up there, and you're only able to pay for cards with that particular type. So lucky for us, where this is a 2, we are actually able to play this card by discarding both of these. Now, you are always able to discard 2 cards to make it 1 of any type, but that, you probably want to try to pay for it in the best way possible. But future cards that are going to augment your prepare action are actually going to make some of these cheaper to play as well. But if we want to play a card, we are able to discard both of these, and then as this one says muster, it's going to be played over here to our muster ability. So after you prepare, you have invest, construct, and muster. And among those 3, you are able to do 2 of them, and you would do them all during this phase. So you are able to muster and then construct, or muster and then invest. You're able to do any 2 of these, and to walk you through what those would be, some of them are going to have additional things to help you augment dice, such as discarding a gold to augment 2 dice, but at its heart, investing is how you're going to be placing out your dice. So we currently don't have any, but if we did have this one here, for example, we would be able to take it from this area and place it here if we want to take the invest action. Now, the next one is construct, and that's how you're going to be placing out your towers. So your towers are going to be face down, and you will be creating a pool of them. So we will say, for example, we had both of these available here. We would be able to place them on a matching symbol. So where we already invested in this particular region here, when you take these actions, they do have to be in the same region, except for certain things like moving your troops around. So where we did place the die here, we are able to place a tower on this spot, or this spot. So we actually do have this horse symbol here. So we would be able to construct and take this and place this down here. Now, placing your dice as well as your towers don't do anything immediately, but when those battles occur, they are going to contribute strength for you, which is going to be very important. And then there are a few other reasons why you're going to want to do this as well, which I will get to in a bit. Now finally, muster is how you are going to be moving your troops around. So you are able to discard a silver card to either move 2 troops or to place 1. Because first what you need to do is move troops from this area up to your available area, and then use this action here to place them into specific spots. Then after that, you're able to move them again anywhere around the map, depending on your movement. But that is how you're going to be doing it with this action here. And then this second part is going to be you're able to move, play 1 down, or you're also able to remove 1. So for example, if he was already here, we would be able to remove him to play a fort here instead. So that is going to be these forts where when you choose to play 1, you're going to gain that bonus. So for example, where this is moving a troop, we can move another one up to this area here. We would be able to place this down here, and now any die would be able to be placed there. Additionally, when you are unlocking these, if you unlock the entire column, you'll get this additional ability. And this one is rolling a die and adding it to, I'm going to grab a different one. It's rolling a die and adding it here. So that's a great example to show you what those will do during those actions. And additionally, when you are able to clear the rows for the forts as well as your beacons, you will gain yourself some endgame scoring. Now, a player is going to be able to place out these different beacons when they have 4 towers surrounding a particular area. So for this player here, we would have to have this here. Let's see. We would have this here, and if we had this one, you are able to discard a lead card to place 1 anywhere. So if we had this symbol available here and we wanted to place it over here, we are able to discard that lead card to be able to place it into this area. And so this is an example where a player would be able to place a beacon. On the turn that you place a 4th tower, where you have 4 of them surrounding, you're able to choose one of these beacons and you will get that benefit. So this one is going to be gaining 1 in silver over here. We would bump ourselves up on this track, and then we would be able to place this onto any of the towers that are part of that. So this is going to protect us because you can actually build on top of another player's tower. So we might put this here to kind of hold that central area. Now you are able to build on top of another player's tower, but you're only able to do it once, meaning that there can only be 2 high. And when you do so, you do need to pay that player 2 cards. Next is going to be defend, and defend is going to happen when there are those 3 dice in a region. So for example, if this die were over here, the red region would then resolve at the end of the player's turn, they'll place to that 3rd die. So currently taking a look at here, the purple player, as we've been placing out these pieces, has a lot of control in this area. You will get 1 point for all of your towers. You'd also get 1 for all of your forts, and 1 for any of your camps if you were able to place those out, as well as any of your dice that are available. But you would actually get 2 points of strength for any of the troops that are in play. So if somehow this blue player had a troop over here, they would have 2 extra strength. But taking a look at what's available, the blue player only has 1 and 2, whereas the purple player has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But that's not the best right now, because even though the purple player is going to win this particular combat, they're only going to gain 1 in yellow as well as drawing a card, because that is the current ship that's available here. If this ship had been here, they would be able to move up on both yellow and black on this track here. So this being like this, they would be able to move up 1 on the yellow because they won that combat. The blue player would be able to take a little bit of a consolation, where they're going to draw cards for the strength that they had in that combat. So for their 1 tower, they're going to be able to draw a card. And then all of the dice are going to be removed from these areas, showing that you're going to be able to trigger combats in those particular provinces over and over again. So when the dice are removed, they're going to be placed onto this area as well, meaning that we're going to have 3 to now slot during our defend phase. So that is going to be resolved, but I will show you what will happen to these ships in just a moment during recoup. But first, we're going to choose to place these dice for defend. So for this, you're going to have different buildings that you are during defend. For these different buildings, you're going to have places where you're able to slot these dice, and they're all going to have certain restrictions, but as you can see, they're giving you benefits as well. So depending on the benefit that you might be hoping for, you might be increasing yourself on the particular tracks, but you might also be drawing cards or adjusting dice for yourself. So for example, the gate here, all values must be different, and all of our dice are currently different. So that might be a great place for us to place a whole bunch of dice because we would be able to move up pretty quickly. There's also the storehouse. The total sum determines the completion reward. So you kind of either want to go low or high where you're rewarded for having 4 through 8 or 20 plus, but having anything in the middle would not be great for you. The obelisk is having all values be the same. For this one, you are trying to complete the columns, and based on how many columns you have completed, you will be able to increase yourself for those different investments. There's the temple, where you are building yourself bottom up, meaning that our 6 might be great here to place, and if we place another 6, we could place a 4 here and then a 1 here, etc., that everything above it just has to be lower, so you're trying to build an infrastructure and then go up. And then the theater, finally, adjacent values must be +1 or -1. So we actually wouldn't be able to place any of these together here in the theater based on what we have, but we would be able to start off with a 3 in the theater, which isn't bad, and that would allow us to draw a card as well. So we may choose to do that, as well as placing this down here in the temple, and then maybe we'll also choose to place this one in the gate. And for all of those, we chose drawing a card because it is so early in the game, so we would be able to draw 3 cards, which, as you can see, these are all gold. We'd be able to play one of these recoups next turn, so we will hold on to those. And actually, one thing to note that I did miss during the prepare phase is that whenever you play a card of a particular mineral, you also increase on that mineral type. So where we played one that was lead, we would actually have 1 in lead as well after playing that. Now, finally, after that, players are going to recoup. So if there was a battle that round, which in this one we had one happen, you would then move the ships. So any ships that were here will move. So for example, if both of these had been there, you would move this one here first, and then this one over to here. So the ships would move, and then you would draw a replacement ship for that particular area. So you wouldn't replace anything that's empty, it would just be where that combat took place. But you would replace one, and then that would be the round. After that, when you recoup, you're also going to draw up to your limits. So where I was simulating a lot of things we would be doing, this is where you would actually be gaining those, where as the first player you do not start off with any other players would start off with a few things in play that they have available to them, but now you're going to start really gaining stuff. So for this, we would be gaining 2 dice, so we would be adding these over to here for ourselves, and then we would also gain 2 towers. So we would place those over here for us to be able to use in the future and draw 2 cards. So as you can see, players are going to start ramping up throughout the game as they have this recoup action. Now, you may be thinking to yourself that you understand the game because you're trying to place out these towers and these forts and your dice and your men, and you're trying to gain control for all these different things as well as your tents, and you're having these battles happen. But you're also going through these core actions every turn, and the biggest part of the game is that as you start playing cards, you're going to be increasing these actions for yourself. So you did see us do it with muster, but we didn't really use that ability. Now I'm going to show you exactly what some of these cards are going to be able to do, because as the game progresses, your actions are going to get more and more specialized. So now I've put some cards above in this player's board, and you're only able to normally play 1 card per turn, so this would be after a few rounds of play. There are actually some prepare cards that will allow you to play additional cards, but this prepare card which we played is going to be augmenting this action for us, so that now if we discard a silver card, we would gain a discount for gold or lead, meaning that you're able to pay 1 silver card for a gold or lead card as well. So taking a look at our hand here, if we wanted to play this 2-cost gold card, we would be able to pay a gold card for it as well as our lead if we chose to do so. So we would be able to do that. And that's how the prepare action is augmented. But the invest action, as you can see, when you place a die into a fort, you can move a troop. But over here for muster, we also added, if you play a fort, you can move a ship. So you can see where those 2 things may chain together really well, that a player may choose to build a fort, they'll get the bonus that's there, perhaps getting their column bonus as well. They would be able to move a ship, once, and then they would be able to invest, place that die into a fort, and be able to move one of their troops. So as you can see, some of the actions are really going to complement others, whereas this one for construct, you are able to discard a gold card to build within your network. So as I said, normally you have to act all within one region. If you had this card in play, you would be able to place, let's see, we'll pretend that this was a 4. We would be able to place this die in this region here, and then discard a gold card and build a tower even over here if we wanted to, because it is connected through our network. So that's going to be how those actions can be augmented. And over here for recoup, you can see that this is actually helping us have a little bit more at the end of the round. So normally you would draw up to 2, but now we can draw up to 3 dice as well as 3 towers. So if we were to end our turn, we would grab 1 more of these, and then we would get 2 more dice at the end of that round as well. In Towers of Sifnos, players are going to feel like they are truly developing, because you do have your player board and you are playing out these cards, and they're all going to give you multiple benefits in the sense that you are augmenting your action and making it better, but you're also able to move yourself up on the track of the mineral that card is from. So if you play a gold card, you're moving up in gold and gaining yourself that bonus action as well. So these cards are going to be very, very important, and as play progresses, you're also going to have a lot tighter of a space on this map. So where the map might look very open now, players are going to start building out and developing throughout the different areas, really vying for those places that are going to give you a good chunk of points from the ships that are placed there, or trying to move ships away from players that you know are going to be scoring particular areas, because if a combat does happen and there are no ships there, players won't be able to move forward. So if you aren't in that combat, you might try to move those ships away, not only moving them to somewhere where you can benefit from in the future, but perhaps triggering a combat on players that they might not gain a benefit. So there is a whole lot of ways that you're able to play throughout this game and have a lot of things that are available to you. You have your own player board that feels almost like a personal puzzle, where you are gaining these dice back, and the values you are placing out, you're really going to be trying to decide what values you want coming back as well when you are building out your different buildings, because those are all giving you benefits as well. So it is this puzzle of trying to gain some of these resources for yourselves, place them out onto the board, receive them back, and then build out things for yourself. Now, as I said, endgame is going to trigger either when the 3rd orange boat is placed or this bag is emptied, whichever happens first, and then players are going to add up their victory points. So you are going to get victory points for all of your investment tracks, which is going to be for the gold, silver, and the lead. You're going to get points for your completed rows. You will also get points for your endgame objectives if you are able to unlock any of these tiles for yourself, and you'll also gain points for what is left over, so for cards in your hand as well as men that are placed out on the board. Finally, whichever player has the most of the mineral for the scoring 3rd condition is going to get those victory points, and whoever has the most is going to win the game. Overall, Towers of Sifnos is going to feel very competitive, because you are trying to place out your different pieces on this map and spread out as much as possible to be able to score from those boats, but if you are placing where other players have things, you're also going to have to pay for that as well. So if you're trying to place a tower on top of another player's tower, you have to pay them cards. And if you're trying to place your die into another player's fort, you have to pay them a card. Additionally, if you try to move a troop into a region where a player already has a troop, they both die, they disappear, which may be beneficial for you, but if you do that, you also have to pay them a card. So the entire economy of the game is going to be gaining these cards, using them to pay for the cards that you're playing, because remember that that is the currency that you use to put those cards into play, but then you're also using them to potentially hold on to pay your opponents when you really need something to happen, because one of the things that kind of limits the game is that you do have the towers with those particular symbols on them. So you can't just be placing these towers anywhere. You need to draw the one that you particularly want, place it out where you need to be able to place it, unless you have that lead to be able to discard and place wherever you want. So it is going to really guide you as you start drawing out these different towers with where you're able to go, as well as where the ships go, because where those ships are, you want to be involved and be sure that you are part of those combats. So if you'd like to see exactly how this game plays, be sure to check out a gameplay on the channel between Alex and I, because you'll be able to see that. You can check out the crowdfunding link down below for everything that Garfield Games has planned. Thank you all for watching the Board Game Code channel. I've been Meg, and I'll see you next time. Bye!